breakdown razor, where it's all broke down where you can see it better. We'll kind of go from front to back. We've got much bigger coolers on the front, and we have a much bigger fan. It's kind of hard to see, but the fan is way big. This fan belongs on a Freightliner truck. That's how big it is. On the brakes, we have a hard line connecting between the two soft lines, so we got a little bit better brakes, bigger tie rods, bigger arms, upper arms. The lower arms are a little bit smaller, but they have bracing built into them, so it's much tougher. It's running the big front diff, just like a Turbo S and the RS1 does. But here's a little kicker that I just learned about this big front diff, and I'll show another video later in the week with the one we have at the shop, put on lift. But to get that front diff out, it's hard to see, but to get that front diff out, you take the bumper off, you undo these two bolts right here, and then there's two bolts on the bottom, and the whole front frame comes off like a lower subframe. The lower arms and front frame drop off, and then the diff just slides right out the bottom. So it's literally like 6 or 8 bolts, and you can pull the front diff out, you know, with the drive shaft and everything already unhooked. You can see the inside. For you shifter guys, it's got a little bit different shifter layout, a little bit wider, because it's got a console. It's got a new fuse box that holds the bigger fuse, just like a car, and then the smaller fuse box is up front. So kind of double assurance about fuse systems and electrical and stuff like that. Up under, we no longer have a bus bar. We have a plug-in bus bar. So your accessories are going to need to be run through these plugs. So these are all blanks, but you can plug, you know, up to 5 or 6 things in here as your accessories. So there'll be companies that make plug-in pigtails where you plug in and you can wire in your accessory. So no more bus bar. That's actually current in the RS1, and it's been current in the Ranger for a couple of years. They did an upgrade on the power steering because older models used to, you know, you bump a rut or a rock or something and power steering would kick off. But they said this new power steering setup rarely ever kicks off. So they definitely upgraded that. It looks like it has 2 ECUs. Well, this is the current, you know, normal ECU. This little ECU is for the fuel system and the fuel pump. So that fuel pump, the fuel pump is controlled by ECU because they have a wide variable O2 sensor now. So it's adjusting very wide patterns on fuel ratios throughout the entire power band instead of just a single ratio on the little O2 sensor. This is our, the motor is basically the same. There's upgrades. It's got coil caps instead of coils or wires. And they bolt on, so they won't be popping off. That's been a problem in the past. This is a purge system for the cooling system. The cooling reservoir is in the back. So when you shut it off, they say you'll hear it bleed off pressure to help it cool faster. Also, the turbo is cooled now by the radiator system. So you have a liquid cooled turbo along with oiled, of course. We have more horsepower, a little bit bigger turbo, 181 horsepower. We have lots of accessories. Like I said, bigger arms, stronger arms. They say that the axles are 8 times stronger than previous, so that might be kind of helpful. And we walk around. You can see the frame's all new. It's a massive frame. Like the main frame rails are like, I think, 2 1/4, 2.5 inch. The cage is bumped up to 2 inch, and the cage is one piece from the back all the way to the front, and then you just have your 2 crossbars up here that tie the 2 sides together. We got a bigger fuel tank. Our fuel tank is 12 gallons now versus 9 before. Of course, your passenger little handle is much more adjustable, easier to do. There's that primary fuse panel with all the big fuses, and your secondary regular fuse panel is up under the dash area. This is your ECU for dynamics. It has a gyro in it, and they pulled it more to the back of the machine. That way it can sense the very center of the machine, front to back load and all that kind of such. New fuel pump design. This is a variable pressure fuel pump, which is controlled by the ECU and that secondary ECU, so they're adjusting fuel pressures kind of as the RPMs and as power is needed. Your front firewall, since it's off of this, but you can pull the whole bed off, like a couple bolts, pull the seats out, and this front firewall comes off, I think like down to right about here. So this whole section comes off because that's where your air filter is, and you can get to everything to work on it easier. So that's a big plus. This is now running a higher, all the XP Pro or Pro XP machines are running a higher output stator. It's a dual wound 900 watt stator, so it should make roughly about 72 to 75 amps, where the older machines were pushing roughly about 43 amps. So that's why if you had lots of accessories, you would overload your charging system and basically run your battery dead because it couldn't charge enough. So this new charging system, it's more so to carry, you know, ride command and dynamics, but it's also just to carry more power in general. So yeah, that's a new Pro XP Razor, full breakdown, you know, a complete machine and the breakdown machine. And I will do another video later in the week because Travis has one at the house. It just showed up today. It's sitting in the garage. He's out of town. We're going to do a fun video with him and the new Razor, and then I'll throw it on the lift, pull the wheels off, and show y'all all the other neat little things that we can see on the lift better than we can see here on the ground, including that front subframe that comes down. It's running aluminum hubs now versus old steel hubs. The front spindles are aluminum. It's kind of hard to see. The brakes are about the same as Turbo S, maybe just a touch better. But this one's running 2.0 Fox podium shocks controlled by dynamics. I know everyone in the West is kind of sad because it's 64 inch. Well, I can tell you firsthand, I drove this thing last weekend, and this 64 inch machine handles just as good as a Turbo S at 72 inches wide. It's probably more stable because the wheelbase is 6 inches longer. So, you know, this machine right here already has a long travel kit on it, and it'll be no time before those long travel kits available for this. So you people in the West worried about 72 inches, yeah, it's right there. It'll be aftermarket, and I would venture to say it'll go 72 inch version of it, you know, in the future. Oh, another quick little thing. So your seats go forward and back. This is your seat adjustment right here. So you have 3 holes, 1, 2, 3, and that's what pivots the front of the seat up or down. That we have adjustments. So it's all adjusted in the front of the seat. And again, there's your shifter, your cooling lines, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the breakdown Razor from here at the Polaris show. And there's a nice new one. And there's your base model. Your base model doesn't have a sliding telescoping steering wheel. It doesn't have dynamics. It doesn't have ride command. It's just Walker shocks, kind of the bare minimum. The middle of the line comes with the better steering wheel, telescoping steering wheel, and such as that. So there you go.